Okay, so if you're living under a rock, the developer update for the next mid-chapter patch for DBD just dropped. This is it's not an official patch note with every change. It's more like an explanation of what's coming in the next mid-chapter patch, which happens exactly between chapters. So we just had the dredge. Next time we'll have another killer. Right in between, we're gonna have this update, and this is probably the biggest one they've ever done, I think. In like a single stroke, this brings the most changes out of any update that I remember. Overall, it's pretty good stuff, but there are a few things that I'm concerned or rough edges that might be polished, and we're going to talk about them. I've already read through them, so you won't get my first reaction to everything. Instead, you'll just have my quick thoughts and a quick summary. So, Overhaul progression system. This is a massive, massive improvement in the way that you unlock perks for all of your characters. And by their estimation, you will now spend a quarter of the time than you would before to unlock all the perks on a character. They made an estimation that you would need to play 4 hours, this is their numbers, not mine, 4 hours a day of Dead by Daylight to unlock all of the perks on all of the characters after each new chapter. Now for streamers like me, yeah, very easy, barely inconvenient. For people that don't play this game for a living, it is very rough. Right now, the system is much easier, and they estimate that it only takes 1 hour a day. You don't need every perk. Sometimes you'll only want some perks, and now you can be even more selective of the ones you want. So overall, it's really, really good news. How is it going to work? It's very, very simple. We will now have multiple prestiges, right? And the first 3 prestiges will unlock the teachable perks for everyone. So if you prestige Dwight once, that means that his 3 perks are now immediately unlocked on every survivor. So if you prestige Dwight, your Meg, your Bill, your David, all of them now have Bond, Prove Thyself, and Leader level 1 already on their inventory. And if it's on the Blood Web, now it shows at level 2. If you prestige 2, now they have it level 2. If you prestige 3, let's say you prestige 3 Dwight, now every character in the game, including Dwight, has their P3, their level 3 perks, which is awesome. I can't really explain this anymore. This is just really, really good. And also, if you buy perks from the Shrine, they also immediately become unlocked. And if you already had them, they go up a tier. So yeah, pretty good. Makes it so much better to buy things from the Shrine and so much better to Prestige. Prestige will now be not optional. It will be mandatory, but you will never lose anything. And don't worry, if you Prestige a lot, you will catch up to the new system, and if you didn't prestige at all, you will lose nothing. So you are only, like, things are only going to get better. On prestiges 4, 5, and 6, you will unlock the red bloody cosmetics for each character, which is what already happened. If you already have them, don't worry, you're not going to lose anything. And apparently from prestige 7 and on, prestige goes on forever. And you will also have a unique prestige icon if you were already P3 at the time this change happened. So it will be like new legacy, and it will just be an icon that people will see at the end of the game. How exactly it will look, I do not know. So if you really, really care about those icons, I guess you could go for the prestige 3. But other than that visual effect, it will really... Oh, I'm going to refresh it? Okay, thank you so much. Apparently something changed. Thank you so much. So yeah, basically new prestige makes it easier for new people. Older players, they will lose nothing. So I think it's pretty good. It's right there in the picture. Oh, you think this silver one is the old prestige? That might be the case. That might be the case. The Shrine of Secrets, as I explained, will now unlock perks right away. And depending on how much you spend on each character, you will immediately be jumped into the corresponding prestige. Honestly, good stuff for beginners, not a super meaningful thing for gameplay, but yeah, pretty good stuff. Then we are explained that matchmaking incentives are coming. This is great, very simple stuff. Obviously, when you search a game, if there's too many survivors and not enough killers, your queues are going to be very long, and the other way around as well. The new system will basically make it so that when you're about to queue, you will see an indicator that tells you, hey, if you want to play Survivor, you'll get extra blood points because we need more survivors. You're going to play Killer, we'll give you extra blood points because there's not enough killers. So you will be rewarded for playing the role that is more in demand. And that, believe it or not, for many people, having extra blood points is a nice draw, especially if they're playing solo and they don't really mind which role. So this should overall make the queues better. And they've also made it so that it doesn't work with crossplay off, so the queues don't take too long. They thought about this pretty well, and it's a very simple change, but a very welcome one that without you doing anything will give you more blood points and will make the game better. Now, what they explain in this next section is that they are doing a lot of perk overhauls and changes, and the reason they are doing it is to make the game more fun, and they've realized that some of the core aspects of the game need to be changed. And they explain basically that the reason why these perks are changing is so that they can change the base game as well. And from the next section on, we get to know what these baseline changes are. The most important one, perhaps, generator speeds. They basically explain that killers almost invariably choose to run several slowdown perks because the gens just go too fast without them. And I can definitely relate. The game is finely tuned sometimes to you bring in multiple slowdown perks, and if you don't, the game definitely feels way too fast. A general nerf to these slowdown perks is happening, but as a result, they've also made generators take longer. Instead of 80 seconds, generators will now take 90 seconds. So it's 10 seconds longer per generator. Survivors typically have to do 5 generators. Sometimes it can feel a bit more if they regress. So overall, this makes a normal game where they do 5 gens straight up 10 seconds longer on each gen not too bad. That is nothing to scoff at, especially when you consider that you can still bring slowdown perks. This by itself is not like the biggest change in the world, but it is a significant step up and the first time that gen speeds haven't changed since I even remember. They've also made it so that kicking a gen is now a more meaningful task. I'm sure you know that many beginners kick gens all the time, and veteran players like myself will go, why are you kicking that gen? There's no point in kicking a gen. If you kick a generator, the generator begins to regress very slowly, and then a survivor can touch it and it completely wastes your time. That will no longer be the case. Kicking a generator will remove 2.5% of its maximum progress, which is a little bit over 2 seconds. So if a generator is like 99 and you kick it, it will not be 99.8. You will literally be regressing it to like 97% or 96% or whatever that might be. So, and that is like a fixed 2.5%. So this is like a tiny little mini pop for each kick. And I think that's brilliant. Very good change. Kicking a generator now makes a little bit more sense, and it's a lot more intuitive for new players as well. So I like that. I think that's really good. And obviously survivors now need to be a bit more careful, because if they keep tapping a gen, a killer can keep kicking it, and you know, they enable that. So that's great. And then this is perhaps the most surprising part. The average kill rates are a little bit lower than we'd like. Now, this is something that many people speculated, but until now, we could only speculate because they never really told us. But it seems that the developers are concerned that killers are not killing enough. And if you ask me, that might have to do more with maps, with Circle of Healing, with strong items, than with some baseline mechanics, if you ask me. And I would maybe focus on addressing those. But whatever the case might be, the devs feel comfortable overall buffing some common shared statistics among killers. So, they are reducing the time it takes to break walls and pallets. So the normal kicking speed, which is, you know, applied to walls, pallets, and gens, is now 10% faster across the board. This is not terrible. Most killers that are super strong already ignore pallets or break them really quick. Think nerfs, think cannibal, or something that breaks. So this mostly helps killers that don't have a lot of tools, and also makes kicking walls a bit more worth it. It makes kicking gens a bit more worth it. It makes dropping pallets early a bit less worth it for survivor. So overall, that's pretty good. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. For the average killer that doesn't have a lot of chasing power, or that doesn't have any tool to break pallets, I think it's pretty great. They've also made the successful basic attack down from 3 seconds to 2.7 seconds. So you basically have, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 stacks of Save the Best for Last by default, or the equivalent. Every time you hit a survivor, you recover faster. This is a pretty massive overall buff to killers in general, especially when you consider that survivors are now also a little bit slower when you hit them, and they don't make as much distance. When you hit a survivor in the past, they moved at 150%, so kind of like a sprint burst, for two whole seconds. With this, it won't be 2 whole seconds anymore. It will be 1.8, which is not extremely huge, but with the 10% reduction, you will feel it. My biggest problem with this is that, you know, camping at hooks and trading at hooks will be a little bit more killer oriented, will be a much easier thing for the killer to do, but it will just require multiple survivors to do rescues. And with other changes that you'll see, this shouldn't be a huge deal by itself. Overall, though, pretty good change. It also has another caveat, but we'll talk about that later. They've also decided to double down on bloodlust. Many people thought that after a long experiment, a short experiment that they did a weekend some months ago, bloodlust might be removed. Far from it. They're actually making bloodlust easier to get. That means that if you chase a survivor for 15 seconds, you immediately get a speed boost. And instead of waiting another 15 seconds like before, now it's only 10 and 10. And you speed up by 5, 7.5, and 10% finally, if I remember correctly. Don't forget that many killers, if they use their power, they don't actually gain bloodlust. And you also lose bloodlust when you break a pallet, which you now do quicker. So this sounds a bit strange, but overall it might just be the least important thing in this whole list of changes. So yeah, it sounds a bit bad, but I also think it's way less important than anything else we've talked about until now. Right. It's a good thing also that they say that we'll be watching closely to ensure that nothing gets out of hand. Now, camping and tunneling. I'm going to tell you right now, the developers have made some measures that I think are interesting to avoid tunneling. But please pay a lot of attention to everything I say. You will see that camping is not addressed nearly as much. On the survivor side, there is a clear preference for perks that grant a second chance. Borrowed time, decisive strike, dead hard, yes. And perks that of that nature that help a survivor avoid certain death, leading to an extreme usage rate. Yes, you will see these perks very often. A benefit of these second chance perks is how they help prevent unfun situations, namely being camped or tunneled out of the game, which means that you are repeatedly targeted. In order to incentivize a meaningful change to the meta, we need to address these perks and these tactics. Moving forwards, basically, borrow time will become a basic thing for every survivor that gets unhooked. It is not clear if unhooking yourself also gives you this. I think it should not. Personally, I think it should not. And I'm going to assume that it will not. So if you use Deliverance or you get a lucky self-unhook, I don't think the killer has to chase you for 5 seconds for no reason. Assuming that that's not an issue, great. I think this change is all right. Survivors will no longer need to bring borrowed time. During those 5 seconds, a killer can still tunnel, but it's a lot of time to reposition, get to a pallet, get to a window, try to have someone take a hit for you. So it's a pretty safe safety net for 5 seconds, basic for every survivor. And the developers explain it as such. The unhooked survivor also gets a small 7% haste effect. This is not, like 7% is not an insane effect or anything like that. But hey, it's something. It's meant to encourage the killer to go for someone else. These effects are cancelled prematurely if survivors do something that is now called a conspicuous action. A conspicuous action is like a new umbrella term that it's basically what makes decisive go away and what makes these new bonuses go away. And it will be explained later that with decisive, anytime you do anything like this, it goes away. And here's something different. Here's something different, right? Because repairing a generator already, healing already, cleansing already, sabotaging already, but opening an exit gate did not used to count as a conspicuous action. So 99ing exit gates will happen less, I suppose, if this is a thing, because you don't want the person off the hook to have to open a gate, because that would make them lose their decisive. So that's out of the big change, I imagine. With these space changes, survivors can switch out their perks loadouts without fear of camping and tunneling will cut their next match short. Now notice that for all of these things, if a Bubba is camping you, none of these things help you. If you are in the basement, not even in the basement, if you're in a hook, and a killer that has an insta-down is just camping you, none of these things really help. Which I think is a little bit of a problem. So all of these things, good for tunneling, don't do almost anything for camping. The only thing that it helps a bit is that knowing that every survivor has BT, yeah, it's a little bit nice. But, well, and now let's go into the meta perk changes. For these updates, perk changes fall into one or two categories. Meta perks that are used too much and non-meta perks that are similar purpose that aren't used as much. So basically, they're trying to make all of the overused perks less powerful and bringing other similar perks up so that you have more reasons to run them. And the idea is pretty good. And I am mostly okay with the sentiment that they express here. By the way, these are the usage perks for Killer and Survivor. Don't mind this black perk right here. This is just locked, which means that the Killer doesn't have all the perks. This perk right here, that is miles and miles and miles and miles and miles above everything else, is Dead Hard for Survivor. Border time also follows shortly after. At higher MMR, people don't even need border time as much because they play in Survivor Fence and they only need 1 or 2. And they use Decisive and other perks that they don't even need border time. So it's not surprising. So yeah, that's pretty wild. And barbecue and chili, literally the most common perk at almost every MMR, which is crazy. Yeah, we've already seen this before. There's nothing surprising about any of this. Any perk that you see here has a good reason to be so high, either because it gives blood points, or because it's free, or because it's good, or yeah, no surprises there. So let's see the perks that they will change on both sides. Barbecue and chili, super simple. They remove the blood point gain. Now this might be upsetting. Oh no, they remove the blood points. But you also have to think that you now get things and unlock things 4 times as fast as before, according to their numbers. Obviously, I haven't done the science. So yeah, this perk will be decent, but you will but now that it's a perk that's behind a locked licensed DLC, I will no longer recommend it as much as I did before. It will be a nice perk that you'll see every now and then. Maybe out of habit, people will still use it. But this will no longer be the most popular perk by a long shot, as it's been for ever since it came out. Ruin. 2 things. It's now nerfed to work half as hard as before. Ruin would make a generator regress at 200% speed. That means that if you did 20 seconds, it would take 40 seconds for you to lose your gen, right? It would be at half the speed that you normally do it, which is like 400%. So that means that if you had 10 seconds, in 20 seconds, you lose that with Ruin. It now has 100%. So for you to lose 10 seconds, it needs to be... yeah, it's... I believe that's... For you to lose 10 seconds, it's 40 seconds. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's been nerfed quite significantly. So now Ruin, for it to be really strong, you need to use it with other hexes like before, or you'll need to pair with other totems, other slowdowns. It's not going to be nearly as powerful. So yeah, they've reduced it significantly. And it also automatically cleanses itself if a survivor is dead. And I think this is okay. It sounds a bit unnecessary, but if you think about it, if you've killed a survivor, you're already doing fantastic, typically. And you might even be at 3 or 4 gens left sometimes. I think that part is fine. If they wanted to nerf this perk and make it less appealing and less of a always use this perk, I think this is a correct way to do it. We'll see if it's too much or too little. Pop Goes the Weasel. This perk used to reduce 25% of a generator's total progress. So that means that if the gen was at 26%, Pop Goes the Weasel, 1%. 30%, Pop Goes the Weasel, 5%. 99%, Pop Goes the Weasel, 74%. It was fixed, 25 always. Now this perk doesn't work like that anymore. Now it reduces 20% of the total generator progress. So if a gen is at 5% and you kick it with Pop, it will not immediately go to 0. It will be 20% of 5%. But you have to remember that on top of this, you also get the 2.5 normal percent from the kick. So if you do the math, Pop Goes the Weasel is slightly weaker than before. Not that crazy. Consider that gens are now 90 seconds. and 20% of 90 seconds and 25 of 80 is not that far off. So when a gen is nearly done, pop is about as strong as before. When a gen is less done than that, it gets a little bit weaker. You might need to be a bit more careful of where and when you use your pop. But overall, it doesn't kill the perk. It would still be decent. It would still be decent to use it, especially if you pair it with some of the other perks that are getting buffed or that are already pretty strong. So don't scoff at this. Pop will still be very decent as far as I can tell, well, from the numbers at least. Corrupt Intervention literally does the same thing it does right now, which is good. But, so it blocks the furthest regens for 3 minutes. Wait, did I say 3 minutes? For 2 minutes. But it also completely disables itself when a survivor drops to the ground. And I think that's perfect. I think that's fine. I think that's totally good. Who needs Corrupt the most? Myers, who needs to get out of tier 1. Hag, who needs to prep up and set up. Trapper, who needs to set up and trap up. These are not killers that are downing survivors within 5 seconds of the match. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. It's a pretty elegant way to make this perk decent on the killers that need it, but not make it ultra oppressive with 5 other slowdowns on the killers that can down a survivor in 20 seconds into a match. So if you ask me, one of the best, simplest changes that they've made. Tinkerer, another very, very simple change. It now only triggers once per generator. This perk, for some reason, had this special property that other perks don't have the privilege of, where it could trigger multiple times. Now Deadlock has a number of uses that is maximum. So does Merciless Storm. There's a lot of perks that only trigger once per gen. And this perk with Ruin, Pop, and so on could trigger multiple times, giving you info multiple times. Now all it does is it triggers once per gen, and that's it. If a gen reaches 71%, and then it goes back to 69, and then it goes back to 71, it will not trigger multiple times. Very, very simple. It's very good. It will still be a strong perk, and if you think about it, it will be slightly stronger the first time it triggers, because gens now take a little bit longer to make, to finish. So when Tinkerer triggers, you now have an extra couple seconds compared to before, because gens are no longer 80, they're now 90 seconds. So overall, Tinkerer is perfectly fine. Noid. I don't think, honestly, wasn't expecting this perk to be here if it wasn't for the fact that they teased it. I think it's a decent change. It's exactly the same as before. When generators are completed or you kick the hatch down, this perk activates. For this perk to activate, there needs to be at least one dual white totem. If you have a hex, it doesn't work. If you have a blue blessed totem, it doesn't work. It needs to be at least one dual totem. And if that's the case, then this perk activates, killer gets a speed boost, minor speed boost, and they can insta-down. But here's the thing, survivors that are near this totem will now be able to see it if they are close than 4 meters. And over the first 30 seconds of activating, this range expands. So that means that 30 seconds after Noid has happened, any survivor roughly around Noid will see it and be able to cleanse it. I think this is perfect. I think this is really good. This keeps Noid as a threat, and it gives survivors of all conditions a chance to deal with it. Now, some crazy survivor friends might still want to do all totems to prevent it completely. Okay, feel free, you can do that, it still works. Solo players that are super lost will no longer be like, you know what, I'm not even gonna find it. And for all I know, maybe the totem is right next to the hook. Bye, I'm leaving. That's unfun for both sides, in my opinion. So solo survivors now have a really, really good chance to find it. And I don't know if the 30 seconds is from the moment it's revealed or the moment it's active. I don't know about that. That is a pretty big difference, because it means that the killer might want to hold on to it and not show it. But that tiny bit of clarification aside, obviously it would be stronger if it's after its reveal. That little bit of clarification aside, I think this is amazing. And now survivors actually can do bones to counter Noid in multiple ways. So if you have an exit gate, right, or a hook that's in a horrible hill, you can do the totem next to that exit gate or next to that hill, and then Noid will be somewhere else that it's easier to deal with. So if you want to do the totems next to basement so that you don't have a Noid basement nurse, That is a good idea. So people can now kind of limit where Noid spawns and still not have the fear of like, okay, I'm going to do this totem and then the actual Noid, I'll never find it. So this is wonderful. I think it's perfect. I also think that the pain resonance change is really, really good. The developers here explain it extremely well, better than I could. When you hook a survivor on a white scorch hook, multiple things happen. 3 of them. Number 1, the gen with the most progress explodes and loses 15% immediately. Number 2, the gen continues to regress if there's no survivor on it, and if there's a survivor on it, it kicks it off the gen, which activates pain res. Which activates Deathman switch. And this is difficult for solo players to coordinate. I'll get off the gen quick. And number 3, it also gives you a notification to know which of the gens is most progressed. And yes, it is a jack of all trades. It does everything. You have this perk with other slowdowns, and it pairs with every slowdown perfectly. And it is a really, really strong perk, and you see it a lot at high MMR. What this perk will do now is the same as before, but without kicking and without informing the killer. So if you want to know which gen is the most progress, start running Tinkerer. And if you want to block survivors from gens with Deathman Switch, go there and pressure them, or send your birds, or send your blast if you're playing Doctor, Addis, whatever. You don't get free slowdown for no reason on poor and suspecting survivors. In my opinion, I think that's pretty good. I think that's perfectly fine. They don't even need to nerf Deathman Switch or anything with this change. And it's a bit fair for the people that are playing solo versus the people that are playing with their friends. And it's still 15%, which is still really good. And it still combines perfectly well with other slowdowns. So, in my opinion, good. I wouldn't complain about that. I think this is a very tasteful change. Now for the survivor meta perks. And I'm not gonna lie, this one has me concerned. This one tells me absolutely nothing. Dead Hard right now is a perk that you can only use when injured. And when you press it, you gain a speed boost, a short speed boost forward. These short speed boosts, even in the open, buys you a lot of time against the killer, even if they catch you. But most often, it is used to reach a pallet, reach a window, reach something that you wouldn't reach before. And you also have iframes. So you can use Dead Hard to iframe through traps. You can use Dead Hard to iframe through shocks. You can use Dead Hard to iframe through anything in the game, pretty much. Which is absurd, and rightfully so. It is the #1 perk on Survivor by far. So, therefore, Dead Hard will now provide the endurance effect for 1 second when activated, and it will, quote-unquote, remove Dead Harding for distance. I have no idea what this really means. I wouldn't say RIP E at all. I think this might make the perk stronger in some ways. I'm not even joking. Okay, there are some ways where the perk will clearly not be as good, right? If you're playing Slinger, you can now shoot a person, reel them, wait a second, and hit them. Dead Hard will do nothing. If you're playing Basement Trapper and you trap every single exit, they cannot Dead Hard through them. So yeah, Dead Hard will do nothing. So these are good. These are good things, right? For those killers. But what's going to happen for everything else? There's so many opinions in chat. It's like activating a styptic. Yeah, will you be able to go to a hook, press E, and then unhook and be invincible? Will you be able to do that? Maybe. Will you be able to press E and then vault a window? And then if the killer hits you, you get a speed boost. And if the killer doesn't hit you, well, you just vaulted a window for free. What happens if I'm playing Hunters and I aim at a guy and he's going towards a window? If he has Dead Hard right now, he's dead. Because he either presses Dead Hard and doesn't go through the window, dead. Or if he goes through the window, dead. Right now, can he use E and then go through the window? And if I'm playing Hunters, I get nothing? There is an animation still. Yes, but how long is the animation? How long does it take for the 1 second to trigger? Can you hit them during the animation before it triggers? Can you hit them after the animation? Can they do a pallet or a window vault? Can they do things without losing it? All of these questions, in my opinion, this explains nothing about. I hate the fact that they nerfed all gen slowdown. That's not true that they nerfed all of them, and we'll get to that. The animation is 0.5 seconds currently. Yes, but I don't know, Chad. I don't know. I'm very concerned about this perk. I understand that they want to make Dead Hard more like a parry move. Where if you use it and you get hit, good. And if you don't, if you don't get hit, you waste it. But the truth is, this doesn't seem like it. This seems weird. This seems really weird. It kind of looks like a scuffed sprint burst. It's not a scuffed sprint burst. It's like a scuffed borrowed time in a bottle. Basically, or a metal man. Basically, you get to the pallet, and if you think you're going to get hit, you press E. And if you don't get hit, awesome. And if you do get hit, you just take the hit and don't draw the pallet and just keep going. So this could be really silly. And I don't understand exactly how it will work. Will the survivors slow themselves down? Will they get a speed boost and then slow themselves down? Will it just be neutral? Will the animation be just a little, oh, don't hit me? Like, will the killer be able to see the animation? Will the killer be able to do anything at windows and pallets? I don't know. I don't know. It will still be an exhaustion, yes. It will still be an exhaustion perk. Decisive Strike. Current effect. After being unhooked, Decisive Strike activates for a long duration. When picked up, there's a skill check that lets you wiggle free. In the light of the upcoming base changes, do we expect Decisive Strike to drop in usage? Because there will be base kit borrowed time, the devs expect people to run Decisive a bit less. For the most part, we find the perk to be healthy for the game. I agree. I think Decisive, at least the idea is healthy. And it's easily avoidable when you're not actively going out of your way to tunnel. But near the end of the game, it is basically an escape for free in many situations. So Decisive now completely disappears and puffs into a smoke when the exit gates are powered. This will mean that for the end game, you will need to rely on other baseline changes and perks, and we'll get to that, to escape if you want, and teamwork if you want to do it. This, I think, is fair. I think this is... I don't understand why you as a killer, have these situations in endgame where it's like, I cannot do anything. If I pick up, I tunnel. If I don't, he just walks away. But there's one thing that concerns me a little bit, and that is that the stun duration has been reduced for 5 to 3 seconds. Now tell me, chat, do you think that for a trapper, it makes a huge difference to be stunned 3 or 5 seconds in, say, I don't know, GD mid-plant? I don't think it makes a big difference. In my opinion, it doesn't. Unless you are eating a Decisive in like the biggest corner and the survivor doesn't reach anything, I think this makes very little difference. It is a nice thing for the trapper, but it makes very little difference. What concerns me about this are nurses and blights. A nurse with range add-ons, and even without, can straight up catch you before you get anywhere with a normal 5-second Decisive. I don't know what it's like to be 3 seconds. I remember when there was a bug that made Decisive half the speed, so it was 2.5 seconds. And I know how ridiculous that was, because it worked on Spirit and stuff. And I don't think that was fun. Like, you literally get tunneled through Decisive. So this is a bit concerning, in my opinion. I know that if you're playing against a mindless Wraith that is not really paying attention and they eat a Decisive, you can make those 3 seconds really, really count in most maps. You get to a jungle gym, you get a body block, you're fine. But against some killers with some add-ons, you do not get any distance whatsoever. And what are you going to do? Drop a pallet against a nurse? So that 3 seconds is a bit concerned. I would like for the nurse and maybe Blight to lose their charges when they get stunned as a new rule. And maybe then this would be fine. Because then they would need to wait a few seconds before they can use their power. If it wasn't for that, I think this would be fine otherwise. Not sure if you guys will agree with the sentiment. Borrowed time. So now we have borrowed time being base kit for all survivors. So what does borrowed time do? It just extends the duration. So instead of 5 seconds default, now with borrowed time you have 15 seconds total. And that also applies to the speed boost. Yeah, it also applies to the small 7% speed boost that survivors get. So borrowed time will now be nice, but not required to do save rescues. What do you guys think? Not bad, right? Sure. Not too bad. 15 seconds, 7% haste, it's very little. I mean, if it triggers in the middle of a chase, sure. But don't tell me wrong. If the killer's hitting you, they're gonna hit you. If the killer's camping you, 7%, you're not getting out of basement 7% faster and getting through a Baba Chenso. So if you're being camped, it does nothing. This helps a little bit if the killer's just coming back to the hook. So yeah, don't think it's insane, but it's nice. It's nice. Iron Will. Now this is a perk that for me makes very little intuitive sense for new players. The way Iron Will works, if you're healthy, you have normal breathing sounds when you run, and normal breathing when you're standing still. And when you're injured, you always make injured sounds. With Iron Will, you make zero noise when you're injured. Zero noise. You don't even make breathing sounds. And I think that was stupid. And I thought maybe Iron Will should just make you do normal breathing. But then if you do normal breathing, they need perks that are level 1, 2, 3. So they haven't done that. Instead, they've made it so that Iron Will now makes you 75, 50, and 25% quieter. This means that you will not be able to completely dodge a spirit. This means that you will not be able to juke like be right next to a killer without them hearing you at all. You'll need to be a little bit far. If you go into a locker or if you crouch, presumably that should also stack with this. We don't know exactly how it will work. So I'm pretty sure that if you crouch, you should be almost silent or completely silent perhaps. And if you go into a locker with Iron Will, you should make zero noise because the lockers give you a passive reduction to noise. And also, a little caveat, it doesn't work when you're exhausted. So Iron Will go well with Death Heart if you want to use it, because you get exhausted at the last second, but it will not go well with Sprint Burst or most other exhaustion perks as well. So it is a bit of a crazy nerf. It didn't need to be so big for Iron Will, I feel, but hey, I'm cool with it. Now, the perk that definitely got a crazy nerf that is completely out of left field is Self-Care. Now, the devs explained that Self-Care is used very, very commonly at all levels, but somehow is even more popular at higher levels. I'll tell you why in a minute. And with Self-Care currently, it makes the medkits stronger, which makes sense, okay, a little bit, and it also makes you heal at half the rate, which is pretty efficient. And the devs argue that having a consistent, reliable way to heal at will is a powerful tool in the right hands, which is true. To reduce its strength, Self-Care now is 35%, so about a third of the normal speed, and the item efficiency bonus is removed entirely. Now let's go with the least problematic thing about this. The item reduction bonus is removed. Cool, that's fine. That's completely fine. Medkits are already one of the strongest, if not the strongest items in the game. They don't need Self-Care making it stronger. Even though most people running Self-Care don't run medkits as well. Whatever, sure, that's fine. Now making Self-Care 35%, I can already tell you, for high MMR, that's fine. High MMR survivors are very, very efficient. They only Self-Care when they know that they have to, when they know that their team has their back, when they know that the exit gates are open, they just need to heal up so they can go out safely. They know when to heal. And if they heal slower, it's not a big deal for them. So why am I finding this problematic? This is going to absolutely destroy low MMR lobbies. It takes, correct me if I'm wrong, it takes 56 seconds to heal with this. I think our friend Grimmy in the chat did the numbers. 56 seconds. 56 seconds. I don't think it should. I don't think it should ever take that long. Like I'm telling you, it's 41 seconds. 56 with is it 56 with Sloppy, right? 56, 40. Oh, okay, it's 45 with Mangled. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, I gave you some misinformation. It's 45 seconds to heal yourself. 45 seconds is quite literally right now half a gen. If you have 2 Claudettes in your lobby, self-caring every time they get hit, you will never see the exit gets powered ever in your life. It's just horrible. It is horrible. It's also really baffling that they say that having a consistent and reliable well to heal at will is a powerful tool, but you will notice that Circle of Healing is not getting changed at all. Now, spoilers, Circle of Healing, you only need 1 person in the whole team to get use of it. For self-care, you would need 4. So obviously, self-care is going to be higher usage than the 1 perk that helps the whole team. But yeah, why they nerf self-care and leave... Like, if you put Circle of Healing here and leave self-care as it is, I would be completely fine. This is a bit strange. It's gonna do nothing. It's gonna do nothing for high MMR lobbies where people run self-care and they know when to use it, or they run medkits anyway. And it's going to probably really hurt solo queue in low MMR. Calling it now. Other than that, I mean, if they want people to use self-care less, sure, this will definitely work. Spine Chill. Spine Chill currently triggers when the killer is looking at you from a really big cone of 36 meters, which is like this. As long it triggers on exactly on and off exactly as the killer looks and doesn't look at you. It gives you a 6% extra speed at everything, pretty much. Totem cleansing, gens, opening gates, vaulting, unhooking, everything. So it's a really nice generic perk to have. And on top of that, it counters stealthy killers. The perk excels at alerting survivors when a killer is approaching. That's how it works right now. There are a few aspects of this perk that we would like to clean up. Spine Chill will now only activate if the killer has a clear line of sight to the survivor. This only makes sense if the killer is undetectable. And I have a feeling that that's what they meant. They're also removing the vault speed. Which, okay, fair enough. Okay, whatever. Sure, okay. I know some people liked it, and it was nice to counter bad ping, but whatever, sure. I mean, it does make sense that it's not very intuitive for the perk. There's also a small lingering effect so that it doesn't flicker on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Which I guess also makes it a little bit harder for experienced players. You cannot react to it as quickly to know if a nurse is about to blink on you and stuff. So yeah, that makes it a bit less useful, but it's not a big deal either. But this is weird. I'm going to guess that they can't possibly mean this. This, like, if you can see the killer, you don't need Spine Chill. So my guess is that this will only be when a killer is undetectable. So when a killer is undetectable, this is what everyone suggests, and I don't know how to feel about it. Odds, I'm playing Pig. Why do I need to look 45 degrees away from a gen when I'm approaching it? Why? It's so stupid. I'm playing Ghostface. I'm playing Wraith. Why do I need to look away? Why does your guy tell me to look away when I get close to a gen to avoid Spine Chill? If I'm stealthy, shouldn't I ignore Spine Chill? Michael in tier 1 in the past used to ignore Spine Chill. So why can't I? So maybe that's what they mean. Because they do say that to ensure a stealthy approach. It makes no sense that a kill with a 32 meter radius has to literally see you for this perk to work. If they do make it like that, then this perk will be worthless and no one will ever use it. If they make it so that this is only for stealth characters, then this perk will be definitely less popular, but some people will still use it. Because they want to be alerted right away and they just like the perk. So yeah, this perk expected to drop down significantly if it's presented to us as it is now. So that's the strong perks on both sides being nerfed. And now here's the weaker perks on both sides being buffed to compete and to try to be more used. Overcharge, same as it does before, but now it makes a generator regress at the normal speed that a survivor does it, 400% over 30 seconds. So that means that if a killer has a gen and they kick it and the gen is 32.5%, because they kicked it, it immediately loses 2.5. So now it's, let's say, 30 seconds worth of progress, let's say. And during those 30 seconds, for each 1 second lost, you will need to repair for 1 second. That's pretty beefy. This will go really well with Pop Goes the Weasel, obvious reasons, because you apply them both at once. This will go really well with a new eruption. We'll get to that in a minute. And it will go really well with Call of Brine as well, which will presumably stack. So it's 500% regression. Now, 500% regression it's not as insane as it sounds. Because the normal regression is a quarter of normal speed. It's not as insane as it sounds. But it will be a thing and you'll see it a lot. Not bad, not bad. The only thing I don't like a bit is that it kind of encourages you to just kick a gen and stick around it and just camp it, but hopefully survivors split up and are smart, and this shouldn't be OP. Eruption. I don't like everything about this perk. Right now, this perk does what it does after the buff, but it has less numbers. When you kick a gen, there's a bit of a cooldown. And when you kick a gen and you down someone, that gen loses 6%. And if a survivor is on it, they become incapacitated. They can't work on gens, heal, do anything useful other than gates and unhook and chase things. For I think it's 12 or 14 seconds right now. And they are buffing the -6 to -10 and the 12 or 13 or whatever it was to 15, 20, 25. I have a problem with this. I generally have a problem with this. This is a perk that will wreck solo players. Wreck solo players. And will not be so good against survivor feds. Let's say that I am working on the final gen, right? The killer comes, kicks it, then he goes for my friend, who I'm on Discord with. My friend is telling me, oh, dude, he's on me. He's about to down me. He's about to down me. I'm about to go down. I'm about to go down. Guys, I'm about to go down. What do? Let go of the gen. -10. Okay. Now get back to the gen and finish it a few seconds later. Easy. Now, let's say that you're playing solo. You're working on the gen. Stupid killer comes and kicks it. He goes after your stupid Dwight, who goes down 5 seconds later. You don't know when he's going down because you don't have bond, you're not on comms, and then the gen explodes and you cannot do anything for 25 seconds. Oof, dude. Oof. Is that crazy OP? Not necessarily, but it's one of those perks that just works better against solos. So, in my opinion, keep the 10%. This is good. This is completely fine. And keep this at 10 or 12 seconds or whatever. And if you really want to buff this perk, then make the cooldown shorter. Like this, the 25, I think, for solos, I think it's going to be brutal, dude. You're going to be doing a gen, right? The killer's going to come after you. You're going to go down and you're going to see your 3 teammates on 1 gen do nothing for the next 30 seconds. I don't know, man. Do we want to get a new meta or not? Hi, Stovkag. Listen, I'm not going to argue that good perks and strong new perks are good, but you have to think about what they'll do, you know? Oh, do we want roads? Yeah, we want to build roads. Okay, let's tax the poor people 99%. No, you have to think about who are these changes going to affect the most. You don't want to... The devs themselves have confirmed in previous dev notes that Survivor fans have a much higher escape rate, a significantly higher escape rate than solo players. And this surprised no one. Even the people that don't think Survivor fans are OP or anything. Like myself, I don't think Survivor friends is like super OP. Oh my god, they just, you know, if you play with your 3 friends, you are unstoppable always. I can still recognize that playing with your friends is so much easier and better than playing with solos. And this perk will be good against solos. And I don't know, I don't think that's fair. I think they should make the perk good against everyone. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Otherwise, good changes. Knockout, a bit of a strange one. In addition to its current effect, this already happens, by the way. So I don't know why they explain this. You already crawl slower when you're downed. But this is cool. It reduces their recovery speed by 25%. I also don't love this change. I also think that this is mostly useful against solos and not so much against unbreakables and stuff. But hey, I mean, sure, okay, whatever. I think this change does almost nothing. 25% longer on the ground doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Still a bit of okay, you put this on nerfs and you slug, good. You put this on anyone else, useless. So yeah, I would have liked to see a rework on this, but hey, whatever. Chorophobia. It slows down healing within your terror radius, as it has done before, but it makes the skill checks of healing inside your terror radius 50% faster, which is something that we've never seen before. So yeah, I don't know what that's gonna be like. It's hard to imagine. I mean, it's nice. It just means that people running, if you have this with sloppy or something, it would mean that people will definitely have to get out of your way. I also was expecting a bit of a rework on this, but sure. Dark Devotion, very simple. It used to be that you had to M1 basic attack the obsession, and then it triggered. Now it triggers anytime you damage the obsession. So you can use Dark Devotion on Hunters, you can use Dark Devotion on Legion, you can use Dark Devotion on everyone, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nice. Using Dark Devotion on Legion was a thing that existed before. It's pretty nice. It has its ups and downs. If you use Legion, you will not see people around you, but also you could have Chorophobia and Dark Devotion, and every time you injure the obsession, they'll never be able to heal properly. So yeah, that's nice. It makes the perk more usable. I'm all for it. Jolt. It allows the killer to regress generators by simply downing a survivor. To make it more consistent and punish killer survivors, we have removed the cooldown. Very good. Jolt was already an excellent perk, and it pairs well with almost every other regression perk. You'll see it even more now. Maybe not so much on M2 killers, because it apparently still doesn't work with that. But hey, that's really good. I run Jolt all the time, and at least 2 or 3 times per game, I down someone, or I wait 2 seconds so I get the cooldown back. So that's wonderful. Lethal Pursuer, I thought was a very decent perk. They're buffing it. On top of the 9-second auto reading at the start, it makes every other auto reading effect by 2 seconds longer in extension. So Barbecue now lasts 6 seconds. Retribution now lasts another 2. Floods of Rage now lasts 6 seconds, and that's kind of crazy. And I'm a little bit worried that some add-ons in the future or in the past will need to be nerfed to compensate for this. But it's a really good thing. It's an insanely good thing. It's a really good thing. How about Object? Object is not a timed effect. So, for example, if you have Blood Warden and you see the auras of people at the exit gates, that's not a timed effect, right? That's there forever, always. So no, those won't be extended by very definition. Gift of Pain, they make the slowdown after being healed higher. I think that's perfect. I think this is perfect. Now you might think, oh, 16%, oh, it's 16% of 90 seconds, that's a lot. Yes, but you got hooked. Don't get hooked then. And this encourages the killer to hook different people and let them work on gens, which is awesome. Great, awesome, perfect, wonderful. More of that. So the buff to this is perfect. Thanophobia, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know how to feel about this. This is how long it takes for a single survivor to do a generator by themselves with Thana. If they're at 4. That's almost enough for a single person to die on hook. I know that most killers don't really get the most of it. But I think that might genuinely make for some really boring cold M1 agents games. I was hoping for a rework, honestly. I was hoping for a rework. I think even if you're like, oh, it's totally fair, it might be, but some matches with this are gonna be really boring. Taking 2 minutes to do a single gen because your teammates are stupid and they're giving hits to the killer for free, it sounds just ridiculous. Scorch Hook makes all the Scorch Hooks in the basement Scorch Hooks. All the hooks in the basement, Scorch Hooks. And every Scorch Hook now kills the survivors 20% faster. So that should be about 12 seconds less, right? Only if you are far away from them. Not too bad. Not too bad if you ask me. Chat, I need to take a break before I go for the next perks. Give me 2 seconds. Feel free to discuss. I'll be right back. Right. Sorry for the little break, but as I was saying, Monster Shrine changed pretty good. Anything that puts pressure on the survivors while the killer goes away from hooks, I think is nice. So overall positive. And now for the survivor buffs. Calm Spirit does everything Calm Spirit still does. And on top of that, you do chests and totems and blessed totems quietly. It's a very niche perk to have, but it's nice. Good buff, I guess. Savager, everything the perk does on top of now seeing Scorch Hooks in a different color, which can immediately tell you that Scorch Hook Monster Shine is there, can immediately tell you that Pain Rise is there. I think it's pretty nice. Overall, I don't know what you guys think, but I like it. And it makes running this perk more worth it. Botany Knowledge. I am speechless. This is one of the biggest buffs. Like, this is so huge, actually. It is so huge. Now, I'm sure you can do the math. If you have Botany Knowledge and Self-Care, you are faster than before. And I don't know if you still have the item efficiency. They don't really explain it. But healing yourself 50% faster with a medkit is literally insane, dude. That is already what boons do. And obviously this stacks with boons. I think that's insane. I skipped 2. Chat, did I? Which 2 perks did I skip, my guys? I don't think so. Aren't you faster by like 2%? I still think it's insane that you can use this with medkits. You skipped the part of Calm Spirit. Yeah, the part that you now do it a bit slower, which I think is okay, I guess. It's a bit weird, but okay. Oh, okay, Saruka. Apparently you will be slower. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, self-care is not the problem, and Botany Knowledge is not the problem. The problem for survivors healing too quickly as a killer is that they have medkits that allow them to heal themselves at normal speed many times very fast. And this is only going to make that worse. So I'm actually not a big fan of Botany Knowledge being buffed. Unless they change medkits. If they change medkits in the future, then this is fine. Talking about things that I'm not a fan of, I have no idea what they were thinking with this. Off the Record is an insane perk right now with this change. Before this, it's a very meh perk. You put it on and your aura is hidden from the killer. Nobody likes it. If you're not being tunneled, it's worthless. If you're being tunneled, it doesn't help because the killer's on you. It's really bad the way it is right now. But 80 seconds is absolutely crazy. Now, granted, if you work on a gen, heal yourself, and do other things, you cannot have this perk work. But consider this, okay? Imagine this situation that I'm sure has happened to you millions of times and will continue to happen to you millions of times. You hook Claudette, you hook Jake, you hook Claudette again, you hook Dwight, you hook Claudette a second time, and now you find her for the third and final time, right? So Claudette is dead on hook. You want to kill her. There's 2 gens left. You need to kill her. The Dwight that just got on hook is now coming to you, fully healed, because the mech, the fourth survivor, heal him, and will now take 2 hits for Claudette and not go down. That's insane. That's crazy, dude. If you're playing anything other than a super strong killer or a kill with a chainsaw, how the hell do you get rid of that? It's insane. First of all, this perk, there's nothing in the description that says that it will go away during endgame. So if you have this perk and you're rescued during the endgame, considering that the killer has to hit you, in 80 seconds you can go anywhere you want, and if you take a speed boost from the hit, even if the speed boost is a bit less, you are 100% out against 95% of the killers, 95% of the situations, unless you really, really mess up. So this perk is a new free escape during endgame that everyone can use. It is actually kind of crazy. Yes, if you open the gates, it disables, but the gates can be opened by someone else. So I don't know. That sounds insane. So this perk with endgame, absolutely broken. I don't know what they were thinking. But it also will come into play a lot against teams that are smart and are in comms. Because when you hook a survivor that you don't really care much about, let's say that you want to kill the obsession, but you catch David and now you hook David. That David, as soon as he gets unhooked, he's going to get healed fast or not and just come at you and body block for you. And they will force you to tunnel. Either you don't hit them and then they body block you and you're a literal straw man just sitting there, or you hit them and they get a speed boost and then they run away. And maybe they still have 20 seconds left to DS or something. That's insane. That's crazy. That's if you get healed, it gets disabled. Well, let's see it then. Where does it say that? Let's see what a conspicuous action is. Because I think you're wrong. I'm pretty sure you're wrong. Healing yourself or others. Repairing. Cleansing. Saboing. Unhooking. Opening a gate. Doesn't say anything about being healed. No. If you heal Claudette, you lose it. If you heal Meg, you lose it. If you heal yourself, you lose it. If Claudette and Meg heal you in 2 seconds, you still keep it. 100%. Yeah, don't be mistaken. As of right now, unless they have made a big blunder in how they presented, this perk is one of the most broken perks in the game, maybe ever. But can you have endurance if you're healthy? Yes. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You can come out of a hook with adrenaline and have borrow time, and if a killer hits you with a chainsaw, you have endurance. 100%. Just grab them. I think you're not understanding. Let's say that you're chasing Claudette in the shack, okay? And she runs through one of the doors of the shack, and you go and chase her. She's about 2 meters away from you, and then David, that just got unhooked, who is injured or not, comes and body blocks the gate. He just sits there and he's like, what do you do? How do you grab him? Like, unless you're Mirror Myers, Tombstone Myers, you're not going to grab them. Yeah, no, that's really bad. That's really, really, really bad. Some killers can kind of play around around body blocks, but many of them can't. And the weaker killers definitely cannot. So no, this perk right now, if you give this to tournament level survivors, you will get 0 hooks after your first hook, probably. No. I mean, you probably wouldn't get anything anywhere, but yeah, no, that is horrible. That is horrible. That is really, really, really bad in my opinion. Super, super susceptible to being used with other perks and items to make some survivors literally tanks that you cannot hit. If you hit them, they get a speed boost. You slow yourself down and both of them run away. This perk is busted right now and needs a heavy reconsideration or some conditions. Where, if you try to hit if you go and try to take a hit for someone else. It loses itself. You get healed. It loses itself, like something like that. I don't know exactly what they would need to do, but right now it's really, really strong. Yeah, maybe. It's totally possible that this perk is completely fine and it's just badly worded. In which case, no panic. Lucky Break. This perk is great for escaping a chase, but the effects quickly run out. We're giving survivors a way to recharge Lucky Break. Each second spent healing another survivor increases Lucky Break duration by 1 second. That's really nice. That's really nice. You use Lucky Break, same as now. You get some use out of it, and maybe near the end game, you heal a survivor or two, and you have maybe 30 seconds of it by the end that you can use in your final chase. I don't see a problem with it. It's a decent-ish perk. It doesn't sit super well with the meta, but it's nice. It can be used well. Not too bad. I think the perk's okay. Pharmacy is a very strange change. It's a decent buff for Lucky Break. It's not even a buff. It's more like a change. Basically, before, if you open the chest, you were guaranteed to find a medkit. Now, it only happens when you're injured. The trade-off is that you can do it multiple times. So if you're injured multiple times, you can get multiple green medkits. That's kind of cool, I guess. But you cannot preemptively spawn on a chest, open it before the killer finds anyone, and then just have a green medkit. So it's a bit of a buff, a bit of a nerf. Overall, I guess it's pretty good. You can be injured, open 2 chests, and have one emergency medkit, which is the green one for you and your teammate. Not too bad, I suppose. You don't need to rummage? No, you don't rummage with this. Rummaging is with the other 2 perks from LOD and Hattie. So yeah. I don't know if rummaging counts as a second search. If you have this and appraisal, yeah, maybe you can get 2 medkits right away, which would be kind of cool. Yeah, we'll see the actual details, but overall, not a super crazy change, especially considering that survivors can just bring medkits at the start of the game. Soul Survivor, though, gets an interesting buff. Massive generator repair speed if you're the last survivor, which shouldn't matter, but yeah, because the killer's going to close the gate, the hatch, and you open gates by 50% faster. Now, opening them 50% faster, does that mean that they open in 10 seconds, Chad? No, why not? It's not that they are open. That would be 100%, exactly. Like, if you open 50% faster, it doesn't mean that you open it in 50% of the time. So basically, this makes the gates 1/3 faster. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. 13 point whatever seconds, as someone in the chat is saying. That's pretty great. That's pretty damn great. This is a perk, basically, when you don't trust your teammates and you just want to open the gate and get out by yourself. Much better than Wake Up, which is only 30% now, I think. So, hey, that's pretty nice. Distortion. Same as it is now, you get tokens, and every time you are next to the killer for a very long time, you get 1 token back. It's a really solid perk as it is now, especially in teams. Even better. Perfect. Lightweight. It's no longer 1, 2, 3 seconds faster removal of scratch marks. Now it's 5, 4, and 3. Damn. That almost sounds good. Honestly, dude, 2 extra seconds, it seems like quite a bit. And it also makes your scratch marks a bit wider, which I guess is like the opposite of Predator. Okay, you take a perk that's kind of worthless, that almost does nothing, and you make it do something good. We'll have to see what it looks like, but at least in theory, it seems nice. And for beginners who love this perk, this is a big thing for them. Deja Vu, already, in my opinion, a very solid perk. You now do, again, 5% faster with this perk. Even better. Really, really good. This perk is great for beginners. I really recommend it. Great. Not much to say. Super good. No One Left Behind. It now activates at 5 gens as opposed to when the exit gates are open. That is great because many times survivors want to 99 exit gates to delay the pressure and make sure that they don't trigger it too often. And this perk is kind of useless in those situations. So when this perk triggers, you now see everyone else. You heal other people much faster. You also unhook them much faster, which is a huge deal because the killer now has a much quicker recovery. Super big deal. And they also get a 7% movement speed bonus when you unhook them. This is a bit strange because they already get a 7% bonus. So unless they forgot about that, I guess it just stacks. That's pretty good. If a survivor is faster than the killer for I guess, what is it, 5 seconds? That's not bad. I have no idea if it stacks. They might have, I don't know, maybe they made this before they made it base kit. I don't know if that's a typo. Probably just stacks. Not too bad, pretty decent. Dark Sense, I love this change. Super elegant. Dark Sense, when a generator gets done, you activate it, and if the killer comes close to you, you begin to see them. And if the killer's not close to you, the perk is not wasted. Awesome. I think that's great, dude. For killers that move really quick, like Wraith, not Wraith, like Blight and Nurse, that are not undetectable, this is a really good way to see them coming. So I actually kind of like it. And it's a perk that's going to make stealthy survivors be quite smart. 10 seconds of seeing the killer is a big deal for a killer that catches up to you like Nurse and stuff. So it's only one time for each gen, yes. And if you're very far away from the killer and 5 gens pop, then you only get it once because you don't technically trigger it. Not too bad. I think it's great. Honestly, pretty good. Tenacity. They just buff it by making you quieter on the ground, and now you keep crawling fast away. It's a bit annoying when you don't hear people on the ground, but hey, sure, whatever. I'm okay with that. Tenacity is a fun perk. It's pretty decent. They buff it a bit. Not much else to say. Good stuff. Hope. A fun perk that some survivors use to try to get a bit of extra advantage in chase near the end of the game. One really sad part about it is that sometimes by the time it would be useful, the 2 minutes are gone. Or you spend 2 minutes in the hook anyway. And then you get unhooked and you don't have it anymore. This perk now lasts forever. It's 5, 6, and 7% extra speed forever. Pretty good. Overzealous. 8% speed after cleansing totems on gens. That's pretty nutty. That's pretty good. If you do a totem for inner healing and then have 8%, and you do a gen and a half or so, you pretty much make that time back. Pretty decent. And if, God forbid, you find the totem that is ruined, you now do 16% faster. Yeah, that's pretty good. That kind of encourages survivors to have a dedicated totem doer, a dedicated runner. I think the numbers are good, especially considering now gens are 90 seconds. But I think the trade-off is fair, and I think it seems like an interesting one. I like it. I do think it's usable. And then we're gonna live forever. It's very simple, just like barbecue. They remove the blood points, so now it's a perk that only gives you faster pickup. When you pick someone else up. While active, healing a survivor from dying state grants them the endurance times effect. Oh, forgive me that. It also gives. Additionally, actions that previously will not give the person an effect. Right. So if you save someone, now it's a perk that gives Soul Guard on demand. That's actually really good. I actually completely missed this part on my first read. That's really good. That's really good. Not the Soul Guard. It's very simple to just, don't slug and let someone who's had a rescue pick up. Yeah, I think it makes the perk really strong. It was added later. Ah, that's why I missed it. Well, yeah, this makes We're Gonna Live Forever very strong, and it should encourage killers to hook more and slug less, which eventually the game should go towards. New meta will surely rise. We'll be closely monitoring the performances of each updated perk. Right. So now, what are my big concerns about this? Let me explain. The overall conclusion. The scope of this update is great. The fact that they change 40 perks at a time and that they make base, like these are things that we've been asking for years, if not half a decade. So it's really good that they make many changes at once. I'm very happy with that. And most of the changes are very good. Problem. There are a lot of perks that are still worthless and not very good. Now, I understand that these perks are probably going to be looked at next, so we're not going to complain too much. We're not going to be like, oh, they didn't buff Dying Light, which is garbage. They didn't buff Furtive Chase, which is garbage. They didn't buff Insidious, which is garbage. They didn't buff Auto Attack, which is garbage. So, like, okay, sure, we'll get that later. But there are still a few perks that are problematic. The main 3 perks that they didn't nerf that I think are problematic are Circle of Healing, Prove Thyself, and Deadlock. in what universe is self-care 50% too strong, but Circle of Healing, which is 150%, and also on other people, which is in which universe is self-care too strong at only 50% self-heal, but boons, namely Circle of Healing, which is 100% on yourself and 150% on other people. How is that not OP? I don't get that. I don't understand why self-care needs to be nerfed, but Circle of Healing, which is way stronger and only takes one perk slot on one survivor, is not. They should not let you heal yourself with medkits that stack with Circle of Healing, my opinion. Prove Thyself will be even more meta than before, since gens now take longer. You will be saving a lot more time with Prove Thyself, and apparently it's not a problem. I've heard it's not 100%, it's 50%. It's 75% on self, 150 on others. All right, because it's 50%. It's not 50 on top, it's 50% of 50%. Yeah, makes sense. Well, whatever. I still feel strongly that healing yourself at 75, if it's not OP, if that's not OP, why is healing yourself at 50 OP? Just because one person has to set it up, I think it's crazy. I really think it's crazy. I don't think they should nerf self-care, and I don't think that Circle of Healing should be the way it is. Prove Thyself, I also think is problematic. Very strong as it is. Definitely not as strong when the gens take longer, but it will now feel even more necessary. So I don't know why they are not looking at it. One person suggested, which I really like, that Prove Thyself should only make you do gens faster when you're working with other people. So if you want 3 people to do a gen in the time that it would take without any penalty, have 3 Prove Thyselves. You don't get to have one person give the benefit to everyone, which I think would be reasonable. And Deadlock, I also think, will be a problem. Now, Deadlock is not a perk that you see very much, and it's not a perk that is absolutely super duper OP, but with these changes, you're gonna see it more, and I think it will be significantly stronger. As an example, today I was playing with Nina on stream. One of us got caught at 5-ish gens, and then the Bubba camped him. Literally just sat on him for 2 whole minutes, and we did 2.5 gens. Because Deadlock was slowing us down. He also had Deadman Switch. Yeah. And he also had Corrupt, I believe. Now, what do you think is going to happen when gens, instead of 80 seconds, are 90 seconds and Deadlock is still as powerful as it is now? I think camping is going to be... Tunneling, yes. We have BT, we have a lot of new mechanics to discourage tunneling. But camping is going to be just as strong as before, or sometimes even more viable. If you are a killer that can generally stop on unhook like a cannibal, why wouldn't you camp if gens now take 10 seconds longer each? So unless they add more face camping countermeasures, I think Deadlock might need to get a look at. If not, then maybe it's fine. What are some of the side effects of this update that are maybe a bit important to consider? All basic M1 killers are going to get a tiny buff. That's awesome. I think that's not bad. You're going to hit someone, and instead of them going away forever, you're going to catch up a little bit quicker. You're going to be able to trade hooks a little bit easier. That's mostly fine. It does encourage killers to use their power less, which I think would be less fun. You're going to see more Nemesis not using their tentacle, more demos not using their shred, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if that will ever change. But yeah. Medkits. Medkits are still some of the strongest items, and in this update, they are now even more necessary and even more powerful. So yeah, you'll see them even more. With bodily knowledge, people can heal themselves so damn fast right now if these changes go through. And also, you're gonna see a lot of off-the-record body blocking. If off-the-record works the way it says it does, you're gonna have a lot of people come in, recently unhooked. They've only been hooked once, and they just want to body block for their teammate who is dead on hook. You're gonna see that constantly, and the counterplay will be very, very annoying, if you ask me. And things that are not addressed in this patch, things that are wrong with the game, that this patch doesn't make better or makes even worse. The best and the worst maps are not at all addressed. The devs say things like, oh, the killers don't get enough kills. Oh, we need to increase the kill rates. We need to make gens quicker to, slower to complete. Fine. We need to make pallets faster to break. Fine. But they don't ever consider that maybe it's a few maps that are spiking up the statistics, or a few elements. And I feel like this update's gonna do nothing. If you go to the game as an Oni, breaking pallets a little bit faster is not going to do anything for you. Like, they're still going to get to every pallet and pre-drop it and pre-drop it and pre-drop it and pre-drop it. And the gameplay is largely going to be the same, which I think is a bit disappointing. Also, the strongest killers in the game are now even stronger. When you get hit by a Blight with Alchemist Ring, who recovers in like nothing and catches up in like nothing, you now move even slower. So Alchemist Ring Blight is now going to catch up quicker. Double Recharge Nurse is now going to catch up quicker. What if they tunneled you? Well, Decisive is now only 3 seconds. So even though that's not so great, like 3 seconds, it's still really good against a Trapper. It's pretty damn bad against a Nurse. So yeah, the strongest killers are now stronger, which I don't know how I feel about that. You will still want to bring the best offerings, the best items, the best add-ons. There's no change for that. There's no incentive or punishment or countermeasure for survivors not to bring 4 medkits or not to bring 4 toolboxes every game. And I still feel like even though they did a lot to combat tunneling, they have not done nearly enough in this update to combat camping. Camping is still very effective. Trading at hooks is even easier. Even if you really mess up, survivor gets hit, rescues, gets hit again on the hook. And if the killer is a bit lucky, you might get grabbed. So I don't know why hook grabs are still a thing. And yeah, if the killer is the type of killer like Cannibal that can genuinely, properly camp, yeah, I don't know if your teammates are going to be able to do 5 gens in the 2 minutes that it takes for you to die. Like, I don't even know if, like, right now with some perks, I think it's mathematically impossible. Maybe after this, even without perks, it will be really difficult. So yeah, I think camping might not get better, and it might even get worse. Because now you know that gens are slower. And you know that if you camp, yes, you're waiting 60 seconds, but in those 60 seconds, they're only 2/3 done with the gen. Oof. That is a bit concerning. So as you can see, I've been listing mostly the negatives or concerning parts about this update to maybe see what we should tell the devs in feedback and what should come afterwards. But overall, the update is very good and overall is pretty nice. So please don't get the wrong idea that I hate it or anything like that. I'm just concerned about what will come next. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. And say goodbye to YouTube, because that's going to be the end of the video for them. They've been listening to us for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Oh my god, I thought this would be short. Oops, my bad. Sorry.